Hey, before we get started, I want to tell you about something that's changing the game for women in dental leadership. It's called the Empowered Leadership Experience for Women in Dental. It's a 6-month transformational journey for women who are done with burnout, overfunctioning, and trying to lead like someone they're not. This isn't just another leadership training, it's a coming home to your voice, your power, and your joy. If you've ever felt alone at the top or stuck somewhere in the middle, this one's for you. Enrollment is now open. Head to leadhershipexperience.com to enroll. Because real leadership isn't about performing, it's about remembering who you are. Now, let's get into today's episode. Dr. Melanie Silvestrini is extraordinary. I met her through Instagram because, well, she is a dental influencer. At 30 years old, this woman is making waves. And when you hear today's episode, you are going to know exactly why. She was in dental school and decided to pursue pageantry, which really gave her the kick in the pants that she didn't know she needed, doing a lot of inner work and self-discovery, and also developing her own brand, which in dental school, you don't get a whole lot of that as far as education. So when she finally graduated dental school, this woman was a powerhouse. And she's also so in tune with herself, following an incredible calling, integrating aspects of spirituality, creativity, artistry, and the clinical and scientific side of dentistry. I've never met a dentist quite like Dr. Melanie, blending all of these different aspects. And what's also beautiful is that she's committed to helping other doctors learn, and she wants to share all of her experience with other docs so that they too, if they so desire, can live a life that blends all aspects of themselves. And she also shares how she hears from a lot of doctors that are looking to develop their personal brand because she's been so incredibly successful with it. And we talk about associates and their branding and why it's so important. You're not going to want to miss today's episode. And I really encourage you to follow her along on Instagram so that you can cheer her on and root her on and learn from her like I do as well, because she is making waves and she's somebody that you definitely want to know in the industry. I can't wait for you to listen. Dr. Melanie, welcome to the Real Talk of Dental podcast. I'm so honored and excited to talk with you today. You bring about something that is so beautiful and special, I think, to the dental space. And I really admire your journey and what you stand for now. And I can't wait to hear more about your story and the kind of work that you do today. And I just want to dive in. I know you started out, it sounds like pretty classic dental career. And then you realized that something was missing from your life and you were really successful, which a lot of people hit that point where all the boxes are checked and they've got to the point of achievement or the milestone where they're like, okay, I've arrived where I always thought I would want to be. And you experience this feeling of emptiness or, dissatisfaction with how you were feeling even after all the boxes were checked. And you've created a really beautiful life for yourself and also really created this mindset and style around how you practice dentistry, which is really using, you're really an artist, right? You have this sense of creativity around it and really creating a new sense of expression when it comes to dental and how it relates to the body and the patient and how they feel fully self-expressed and having it be all interconnected. And I just think it's a really beautiful trajectory that you've been on. And so I want to hear from you, like the starting point of you realizing once you got to this point, I'm not happy here. So tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah. So I've been in this path to become a dentist truly since the age of 7. I do not exaggerate this. I grew up being the girl who wanted to be a dentist, and I had no friends who wanted to be a dentist. It was always I went upon this journey early on with complete tunnel vision. Complete tunnel vision. I had one goal. It was to become a dentist. I have no dentist in my family. It was just something that I had an experience that truly stuck with me when I was younger, and I just really wanted to pursue this passion. And I also figured out early on that I was very creative in many ways with art, and I started a makeup artistry business doing bridal makeup as a freelance artist at the age of 18. So I noticed all these things about myself, and it was a beautiful part of the journey. But once I graduated dental school, these light bulbs just went off, and I was thinking to myself, okay, I got the DMD. Now what? It's like it hits you. And I'm sure many dentists can attest to this. I'm sure probably all of them. They might not talk about it, but this is definitely that moment where, yes, you've achieved this milestone that is so difficult to attain, but now what did you do those 4 years besides get your degree? These are oftentimes pivotal moments in our adolescence, early adulthood, where we are shaping our self-awareness, learning more about ourselves, and truly like craving a path, creating a path for our futures. So I experienced this personally. When I graduated, I thought to myself, wow, I don't think that I truly spent enough time working on all of these other things that are me, that define who I am, what I believe in, let alone why did I truly pursue this profession? And how can I find true career and personal fulfillment with what I do that matches who I am? So I had a different journey where I started to experience this. And it was actually the first time I hired coaches because I joined Miss Massachusetts USA and I entered the Miss USA venture and started doing pageants. Ironically enough, I would have never thought something like that truly allowed me to understand what it meant to be a personal brand, the concept of branding, the concept of personal development when you're learning things about yourself and concrete examples on how you've displayed certain core values. All of these words that I'm speaking to you about are words that I learned through pageantry. It's crazy, right? But I learned about it because I was training to display the best version of myself in 2 minutes to a bunch of judges, a panel of judges on stage all by myself. And it's a nerve-wracking thing. So you have to be very self-aware when you're doing some competition like this. So a lot of my training dove into very deep parts of who I am and what is the purpose behind what I'm doing here. What is the purpose? There's always an answer. It's just a matter of us diving deep enough to understand it. And I'd like to mention this very briefly, but there's therapy for this. It's called somatic work. Somatic is when you're having introspective check-ins with yourself and you're learning what is the connection between how I'm feeling. You're separating that, and now you're separating the psychological component. What am I thinking? And once you're able to connect the two and marry it, magic happens and you really start to learn more about yourself. So it's definitely a journey, it's a process. But the biggest problem that I have seen and I have experienced is that dental students do not spend enough time with personal development. Very important. And that's what I coach currently. That is what I've found my purpose and passion doing is sharing that journey, but helping other dentists bring back to the forefront of their brain what is very important about their life, about their career, and how can they marry these two to be very happy and fulfilled.
Gosh, you are speaking my language. I totally love, love, love everything you're saying. So I mean, it sounds like you were just way ahead of your time also. I mean, knowing from such an early age that you wanted to be a dentist and then shortly. So where did the pageantry fall into this? Was this before or after you finished dental school?
Yeah, this was my third year of dental school.
Wow.
I saw an ad and this was a random night after clinic. I was scrolling on Instagram and there was an ad, Miss Massachusetts USA. And I clicked on it and I remember seeing the front page loading and it said just upload a photo and a blurb about yourself. And I exited out and then I thought to myself, I used to watch this growing up. I used to watch Miss Universe with my grandma. I used to, I just admired how these women were able to do such a thing and really show their best selves and look very poised and professional and polished and answer any question that came their way. So I thought, okay, well, let's just see. Like, I didn't even think. I was just like, okay, click photo, quick little photo. And the sentence that I wrote, dental student, pursuing a career in dentistry, I have a wellness blog. I had a wellness blog. I've always been very into creating, so and sharing knowledge. So that's something that I did in dental school, and I never really shared it. I just had it, and it was like my copywriting therapy. So I really enjoyed doing that, and it was wellness. So anyways, I ended up doing that for Massachusetts, and that was a great training point for me. That's when I had all the coaches. And then when I graduated, I took a year off, and I decided that now that I'm in residency in New York City, my home state, I'm going to go again for my home state. And now I'm going to hire more coaches, and now I'm really going to do it. And I did that twice, and I was a top 10 state finalist both times. So beautiful thing. It was a great experience, but that's how I got into it.
Yeah, gosh. And little did you know this is, that kind of work is setting you up
Right.
to
I had no
really
idea.
crush at anything. That's awesome. And
Yeah, I went with the flow. It was
yeah.
an opportunity my way, and I pursued it.
Yeah, and I'm a huge advocate for somatic work, and it's really just becoming a little more mainstream recently. So, how did you, when you were going through this, were you undergoing somatic therapy even back then when you were doing the pageantry work and really digging deep to see, get in touch and really have that connection with your body?
Yeah, weirdly enough, oddly enough, I never had training for this, like formal training.
Yeah.
I learned about this as I went through with life and reading and just being very curious. But I would say that a therapy that I started doing very early on, even it started in college, was meditation. So I started doing meditation, guided transcendental, when I was a junior in college, and I was a double degree major, biochemistry and chemical biotechnology. And I took no time off. So I went to dental school right after. And I had a very, very, very fun, stressful time. And because those majors are really tough. They're really, really, really demanding and very analytical. So I found my therapy when I looked within, and I actually got so used to doing meditation every single night. I would do it every single night, and it calmed me down. It helped me release anxiety, and it just helped me refocus and recenter towards what I'm pursuing and what my goal is. And somatic work came after, because I just, as an adult, I started delving into health and wellness therapies. I love biohacking. I'm all into the health and wellness space. So I've just learned that as I've grown. But
Yeah, and I really love, I mean, you're really special and you're so unique in the sense that you marry the, spirituality with the science and then also this creativity, right? So you
yes.
have, the trifecta. Most people don't really have all of that or aren't as curious, and you had it sound like when you were pretty young in your career too. Most people really start
Yeah.
pursuing the spirituality and wellness stuff when they're kind of forced into it later in life, when they really need to start doing that work. So what a gift, that you had this really strong intuitive sense to bring all of these aspects together early on in your career and then have the wisdom to follow the calling, which I think is really awesome. So I know in some of our, pre-work before having the chance to talk, you mentioned that you ended up leaving New York, heading down to Miami, which is where you're based now, and your beautiful, background that you have. And so tell me that story. Where were you at when you were in New York and you're like, you know what, I need to go south? What happened there?
Yeah, such a crazy little journey, but I was in residency and I was also competing for Miss New York USA. I finished residency, and then I started working in New Jersey as I was waiting for my New York license, which took forever. Finally, I get my New York license, which, by the way, is the only reason I did residency. I just wanted my New York license right away because I had all my family there. I grew up there, and I thought this was the place I'm going to practice. And so I ended up starting in a celebrity clinic. That was my second job, was in a celebrity cosmetic practice where I learned cosmetic dentistry. And then at the same time, I worked part time in two other offices. One was an ortho office, and the other one was a boutique dental office, but it was a franchise. So I learned about different business models, and I had a variety of diverse clients. And that was a really good way to start my journey. I didn't go for a DSO, but I started there. And I remember being so worn out. I was working like a mad person and I didn't know what my would be next week. I not consistent and New York City is really, really tough, especially when you're starting. I would say getting a full time is really difficult when you're your first year after a residency or starting out. So I did that for a few years, but I started to make connections with other dentists, and it was through a an internal referral that actually led me to Miami. And it was two different people who didn't even know each other were recommending me to the same boss whom I ended up meeting. And that's when I started my journey learning dental implants. And I did my training with implantology. I got two fellowships with it. And I started doing a lot of surgery and realizing that this was something I really loved. So I started with cosmetic and then I got into implant, and it was just an amazing experience. So I moved because I knew that although it might not be my final destination, I knew that it was going to bring me 1% closer to challenging myself to do something that I'm probably meant to be doing. And at that time in New York, I didn't know. I did not know. I spent all the years in dental school. I did the pageants. I was doing anything that came my way. I was truly seizing it because I didn't really know what was going to happen next. So it was a very exciting journey to just take upon whatever opportunities come. And if it feels good, do it. So that's what I did. I followed my gut, I followed my intuition, and I meditated on these things, these decision making. I have done journaling prompts, I have done many different types of work between me, myself, and I to lead me towards this decision. So that's why I ended up moving.
Yeah. No, that takes an incredible amount of courage, and I love everything that you're saying. So, okay, so now you're really, practicing the art of creativity, because something that, your belief in dentistry, I really admire, because like you've shared, it's beyond just being a technician and being hyperclinical. Like you're looking at the entire experience, how your patient, views life, and it's really this, I don't know, gateway to the soul is coming to mind when you're thinking about, working with somebody's mouth and how it's all connected to the body, and it's like you're putting together this whole experience for people. So can you share more about that too? That because you have this belief that people, you're inviting them into thinking about dentistry in a new way. And so do you want to share a little bit more about that, and kind of your mindset and your belief system on how you approach your work?
Yeah, I do. I really do. And something I realized fairly recently is that when I was in dental school and before I applied for my training, I reflected and I found one common denominator. And that was I knew that dentistry was so focused on the wellness aspect, but no one really talked about it. And so in my personal statements, I had written different things that were leading me towards this main topic that we're talking about abstractly, and even in my personal life too. So a lot of my passions for wellness were already there a long time ago. And when I started dental school and we're bringing all the technical terms, the operative dentistry, the fillings, the class twos, the class threes, you're trying to graduate, then you start talking about wellness. And then people think you're woo woo. Love that word, woo woo. Well, like it's just teeth, it's connected to the whole body. It's systemic. What does that mean? So as an adult professional doctor, dentist, I'm working in clinics and I'm seeing different ways in which practices are marketed. And I'm learning. I'm now an associate in different models. So I'm like a little puzzle going into little big puzzle pieces. And like trying to fit. I'm like, but I'm observing everything. And I realize that that term wellness and oral wellness is not truly being married correctly. It's being used in different ways for marketing purposes. Unless you're truly able to understand and really embody it as a practitioner, you need to do additional training half the time. You do, and unfortunately, dental school has only 4 years, but there are so many different parts of dentistry that can affect our health, and we don't talk about it because it's just become this scary topic. Like no one wants to admit that there are certain things that truly can affect our health, and there aren't practitioners who want to make themselves seen and explain this to patients. The patients are the ones who are being misled nowadays by people who are claiming to be social media experts in different industries. And I see it all the time. Any gathering I go to, people are like, hey, I saw this, and I have the credentials. So when we're talking about the social media marketing and we're talking about like influencer marketing, if the experts are not making themselves seen and heard, patients are just going to believe what they can. And we can't be mad at the end of the day. You have to do your due diligence and at least try to make yourself seen as a provider, because like if you like it or not, you chose a career that requires you to be extroverted in a way, and we can all go home and be introverted, but you chose a career in which you have to be very well informed and also a people person to talk to people and sell treatment plans and converse diagnoses, all these things. So it is a job that you have accepted, and so we have to remind ourselves that as practitioners that it's okay. It doesn't matter what the other dentists think. This is between you and the provider, and if it's evidence based and you can back it clinically, beautiful. Share all you want. Share all you want. And we can have different treatment philosophies, and that's okay. But I think it's our duty.
Yeah, because you are an influencer in the dental space, and I wanted to ask you about that, like how you feel about that and your level of responsibility and what you feel is your primary intention with that. Because as you continue to grow your audience, I'm sure you feel a level of responsibility with that.
Yeah. So last year is when I started to receive messages from different dental companies. And this was also through me going to networking, conferences, and just like putting myself out there and not being afraid of being seen. That whole concept is very important. But I did that for a while. And so companies wanted me to either be on their board of advisors, or if they saw that my brand was in alignment with what their product's brand is, and they were attracted. And so that conversation was, hey, how can we get this product in your hands? Try it out. And if you do truly love it and you believe in it, then let's talk further. And so that's what happened organically, because there's a bunch of products out there. There's a lot in dentistry as well, but I don't accept a partnership or collaboration with a brand that I don't truly use and love and believe in. So I do a lot of research behind the scenes as well. And anything that I'm teaching or talking about to social media or patients is through time on my end, trying things out, seeing the results, and also researching the evidence myself. So that makes me very, very clear and confident going on the internet and now sharing this publicly. And I'm very careful with the brands that I work with, but that's how it's come to be.
Yeah. And so let's pivot a little bit to your coaching work. So I know you also work with dentists to really help them get clear on what their purpose is and designing a life and career that they love. What do you see most often when folks are coming to you looking to work with you? What point are they at in their life where they're raising their hand and saying, hey, I think I need some support? And with that, what is sort of a takeaway or something that you would encourage, most folks in your industry that are at that point where they're feeling like they don't have much direction or they're feeling that sense of emptiness that you felt at one point too?
Yeah. I would say that the majority that reach out to me are usually in one of two phases. The first one is a phase where, yeah, you're just starting out and you have the same moment that I explained to you. You're like, where? What now? And then the second one is when you're 5 to 10 years out. And now you've been working likely for someone else. And now you're still like, so you could be in two different phases. The third phase is 10 plus years out, and you're either a practice owner or you're pursuing something a little bit more intensely, usually. So each phase, that each tier dentist, they all reach out to me with different questions. And it's so interesting to see how we evolve professionally, and we all have the same thing in common. Dentists are taught clinical excellence, but they're not taught positioning. And that's the common denominator. I can tell you, building an authentic identity is really the most important part. And I want to emphasize that, yes, there are 3 tiers that I categorize myself, but we are constantly shifting and changing and evolving every quarter, every year. And it's okay to recreate that newer, authentic identity. It's completely okay to do it because that evolves also with your experience. And so that's why these three tiers still have the same thing. And it's a matter of, are you putting the time in to do this type of work for yourself so that you can be better aligned with what you're doing personally and professionally? And again, how do we marry the two together? That's where the magic happens. That's how you create a career that really reflects your personality and your purpose. And it's cool. And it's tough.
Yeah,
It's scary.
it is.
So I like to say that my coaching is more of a like identity accelerator, but then the marketing goes hand in hand. But I'm helping the dentists delegate better to the marketers because you can't go to a marketing company and say, hey, here you go. Okay, what do you stand for? What's your purpose? What are your core values? What's your treatment philosophy? What do you want to show about yourself? All of these things, if you don't know that first, you're going to get a cookie cutter website. You're going to get a cookie cutter everything, and it's not going to do you a long term success, unfortunately. I've seen it.
Yeah, you're so right. And I love what you're saying because I mean it sounds like people are reaching out to you to find positioning, figure out what their brand because you have a very clear brand. You've had a lot of success with it. Obviously tons of training with it and you're proof of what you've done. And so people are coming to you with that, but then you're also saying, well, we really need to work on who are you? What do you stand for? And getting really clear on that first in order to then build a brand. Yeah.
That's the key, especially for dentists. Especially, I know this is very niche, but in dentistry, we are often taught the concept of perfectionism and we absorb it. And I am guilty of that. It could be part of your personality, but a majority of dentists that go into this field, you have that in you. You have that personality, and that transmutes into this other part of life that now we have to let go of that.
Yeah, and I think the perfectionism is tricky too because people often like the procrastination, they often say that's a symptom of perfectionism because people are so worried about being seen like you said until they feel like they're good enough or they have it right or they're on that perpetual not there yet, not there yet and then they never actually get there because, they're stuck in that I'm not ready yet for being seen or being exposed or elevating themselves to the next level like you have, which is really powerful. There's kind of a hot topic right now too with the idea of associates, being their own brand
Yeah.
and building momentum and even social media followings and stuff like that. Where do you stand on that for associates having the courage to get out there and really create their own brand, even if they're not the owner of the practice?
So beautifully said. And yes, it's very important because a lot of dentists who are associates do reach out to me. And this is like the beef of those tiers. A majority are in this tier 2 position. And I would say that if you're a dentist, if you have a DDS, DMD, you're a specialist, whatever, you are your own brand, your own business. You are your own business. As a matter of fact, we can now go into the technical terms. A majority of dentists who are associates are 1099s, independent contractor. So you're technically your own business. So why not embody that, go to the next level and understand what does that mean for you? Okay, you are working for someone else. You don't have to meet payroll. You don't have to worry about the overhead exactly. And you don't have all the responsibilities of a practice owner, but you, as the associate, are still responsible for your life's fulfillment that comes hand in hand with what you're doing every day. And oftentimes you're spending more time at work than in your own home. So it's really important to get laser focused with why you became a dentist, number one, and what are you doing every day that brings you joy? And what are you doing every day that just removes the joy? And how can we put more time in to focus on those aspects that are bringing us joy? This could be continuing education courses, a specific philosophy of care that you want to learn more about, that you really are resonating with. And so that's what led me to take certain courses as well. It's not enough to just take someone's advice and say, hey, you got to do XYZ, but more so spend the time really reflecting on your work and don't be afraid to showcase it. You are your own competition at that point. The photos that you're taking, I just look at my other photos from last year. They're great. They're so much better now. That's like how you have to think. You can't be comparing yourself to others, but you're still a doctor, you're a professional, and it's your duty to continue your education so that you can deliver the quality of care that you truly want to provide. And then that's going to bring you a whole other level of fulfillment. There's so many ways to audit your life and the way that you're practicing as well. And I truly, truly think that everyone should do it more frequently, every couple months, every month, every week. Just find a way that works for you, or we can talk about how I do it. But I think it's important to go back to the drawing board and analyze also, am I being burnt out in this environment? That's a very common thing. Now, when it comes to patient care, we can't necessarily say, hey, I don't want this type of patient. We can't do that. Yeah, you could choose demographic. You can choose if you want fee for service, whatever. You can choose that. But the patient care, it's between you and how you can self-regulate. Emotional regulation is so important. How you can manage your patients is between you, yourself, and yourself. That's it. So we have to constantly refocus. I think being an associate can be a beautiful thing. You have done your due diligence to self-reflect on who you are, what you want to do in your practice, and how you want to go about the next 10 years of your life. We don't even think about it. It's really sad. We need to think about our exit. I think you're never too young. I'm 30. You got to think about what realistically do you want for your life. It's never too early, because in the blink of an eye, you'll be 70 years old and you're like, oh. So I believe in, yes, intuition, but being strategic with your day-to-day life. Be intentional. Being intentional is the most important part. I could talk forever about this, but ask anything you want.
No, I love your passion. And I know I'm very much in alignment with everything that you're talking about. And I'm a big believer in it. And everything you're sharing is incredibly beautiful. And I know too, when people start going down that path and doing that kind of work, like you're saying, it brings up so much clarity. The people can be really afraid of it, but it can also take people to a place that maybe they weren't even aware of, and you're a testament to that. Like, you started doing that introspection and you realize, like, oh, this is the direction that I actually want to go. And it can be very liberating. But like you said, it's also very scary. So having support, whether it's coaches, mentors, guides, a community, you always need people in your corner and I often say too, sometimes it just takes having one person believing in you to take that next step. And I think that's really powerful. What's next for you? I have to ask. I don't usually ask people those questions, but I feel like you're so in tune with the direction that you're going in. So I'm excited to hear, like, what do you envision for yourself in the next, like, 5-10 years?
Yeah, well, I will say right now I'm working very, very diligently on launching my new podcast. And I'll tell you the name. It's already kind of out there, soft launch, but it's called Doctorate Domain. And the reason that is because I want to start interviewing people who have truly done something outside of the chair. And I want to use that as a way to motivate and inspire other dentists and doctors to also look into that, because it's okay. These are topics that we don't often make normalize. It's more so your day-to-day 9 to 5, this, all that, which is totally okay. But there's a beautiful part of this journey that allows you to tap into your inner compass and your creativity. And so that's my main motive and focus behind that. So I hope that that develops into something that is much bigger than I can imagine. I don't know, but let's see. So that's like number one right now. I'm advancing my training currently. So I'm going to be getting additional certifications with biomimetic dentistry and biologic dentistry, because I'm very, very interested. The more I learn, the more I'm inspired. And so I'm just following that right now. And then I'm going to be working on formalizing more systems for dentists to help them do what I've done for myself. And I'm still doing it. I'm still learning it. But I think that I've just really enjoyed sharing, and I could see myself sharing that as well, and just continue to build my brand with the treatment philosophies that I discover I truly love and that resonate with me. I'm going to just create more content, educational, and maybe a CE as well. That's what I have envisioned for myself.
Yeah, just a few things.
Yeah, you said 10 years, so.
No, it's amazing. And I have no doubt in my mind you'll be wildly
Thank
successful
you.
at all of it. And I love that you're really encouraging, doctors to find that passion and couple it with, working clinically, because I do believe that's really important to have that balance. And I really love, again, I'm a huge fan of creative expression. And I often feel like my philosophy with art and creativity is that that it is a spiritual practice, and it's how we get to connect to what I consider, the divine energy. And so I love that you're inviting that into this space for people, because it can really fill people up in such a unique way that I wish more people were tapped into. So I'm really glad that you're doing that work. Well, I'm a huge fan, and I'll be following you along on your journey, rooting you on, and just advocating for the work that you're doing. I think it's so awesome and so needed, and I'm so glad that you're out there, and I'm so grateful that you're following your path and doing the work that you're doing, because the world needs more of you, and I'm so grateful for your time today and your energy and all that you're doing. So thank you so much for being with me today. You just listened to the Real Talk of Dental. If it hit, if it stung, if it made you feel just a little more human, good. That's the point. This isn't about fixing practices, it's about healing people. And if you're brave enough to show up real in this industry, you're my kind of leader. Subscribe, call in, send your wildest workplace confession. And most importantly, don't clean up for anyone. The mess, that's where the magic lives. We'll see you again on the next episode.